Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on the 4th. Monday, the 4th of December, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. What's happening out there in the world today? you know? First thing I'm going to start on, I'm going to talk about that virus. Is Canada ready to deal with a pandemic that affects mostly kids? Well, the United States, too. I mean, I heard it's in either 13 states or 15 states now. In particular, I don't know what it is, but I can speculate a little bit what's causing this. And I'll tell you, I'm going to let you guys in on my speculation. But it may or may not be true, but it's just speculation. I think maybe it's being caused by a flu. And what happens is the flu basically creates a tremendous amount of phlegm in the lungs, and then bacteria can then a bacterial infection can take over then, And I'll tell you what, back a few years ago, there was a flu that went through, and it caused a tremendous amount of, and an awful lot of people were getting pneumonia from it because pneumonia was a side product. In other words, you had the flu, your lungs filled up full of phlegm, and because your lungs couldn't bring that phlegm up quite quick enough during this particular flu I'm talking about. And you guys remember back, what year was it? I think it was like around 2010 or something. It was the swine flu, is the flu I'm thinking of. It caused an awful lot of bacterial pneumonia because people get it, and then a few days later, or maybe a week later, after their lungs filled up full of fluid, they weren't able to bring that fluid up quick enough and clear the lungs, and then the bacterial pneumonia would set in that, in all of that phlegm that was in the lung tissue, and inflame the lungs even further. This is what I'm thinking this is what this could be, but I'm not sure. I don't know, just like nobody else knows. I'm just speculating. But it's that time of year where flus are spreading. And the second thing about it is, if it is a flu-like, or maybe it could be a flu like the swine flu was, these kids have never been exposed to it, because that was quite a long time ago. That was like, what, about 10, 15 years ago? And most of these kids are under the age of 10. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, So they weren't exposed to the flu like the swine flu. Now, I'm just saying, I'm not saying that's what this is. I'm just speculating. Or it could be some other flu. So it might be a flu that's triggering it. Maybe, perhaps. And you notice I'm using a lot of speculation. Maybe, perhaps. I'm not a virologist. I'm not a doctor. But I think that the virologists and doctors out there, maybe they should start checking into this and find out just exactly what flus are going around right now, and tie it into the length of time that the kids are between when they catch this thing. In other words, when they first get sick, they have their fevers and stuff, then what particular time does the pneumonia set in? It might give them a clue. Perhaps a virologist is watching my show and say, hey, maybe he's right. Maybe we should check that, just see. Because this thing is a mystery at this point in time. I don't know what it is, and because it's a mystery, they don't really know what it is. So shouldn't we all be open-minded at this time, even if we are medical professionals, if we're doctors or whatever, open-minded to ideas of what to look for, to find out, And speculation is the only way that you can get ideas on what to search for to find this out. Because this is very important, because nobody likes to see sick kids. Let's face it. You know what I mean? terrible. You know, so this thing has been attacking children. Children should be out and playing, should be healthy. Another thing I heard that there's vitamins that could possibly. Now, this is just speculation as well, because these things are not proven, but there's possibly, it might be a good time to think about certain vitamins, because an awful lot of times kids are low because they don't get much sunlight this time of year. So they might be low on vitamin D, vitamin D3. They might be low on vitamin A. They might be low on vitamin C this time of year. They might not be eating quite enough fruits and vegetables. And you know, an awful lot of these things can have an effect on how strong your body is, might be able to fight off, because you never underestimate the power of the human immune system. You know, I mean, but let's take a look and see what's going on in the war right now. This article from Wyon says that Moscow is attacking Ukraine from all sides right now. Russian defense minister advancing on all fronts in Ukraine right now. They just attacked right now, and this is live right now. Russia is attacked with 12 drones and cruise missiles right now. So Zelensky, he's out on the front lines trying to boost morale of the troops. And that's, I guess, what the picture is right here. Now, Israel has expanded ground operations in the whole of Gaza, seeking total victory. Israel. They are pounding the Gaza Strip. Hammering it. And they're making a lot of progress. In the underground tunnels and stuff, I saw today that they found it's almost like a rest stop for Hamas in the underground system, and they had couches in there and everything, you know, where they could relax, have a nice meal before they go back up top to fight again, you know. And the Israeli troops found that spot, so they're not going to be able to go down there and lay on the couches anymore and eat noodles while they wait to come up above and use their machine guns and stuff. They're not going to be able to do that anymore. That's not available to them any longer. But in all, they've been just pounding the hell out of them. It says they got to return 137 hostages that are still in Hamas captivity. Well, there's a picture right there of what's going on in Israel, and there's the Israeli troops moving tanks and armored personnel carriers in. Now, the commercial ships were hit by missiles, and the Houthis were attacking in the Red Sea area, and the warship, they attacked the warship as well, the United States warship, multiple ships. And here's the thing. Now take a look at this. Okay, it's right here, and it's the Red Sea, see? And they were right down here within, I guess, 10 miles of the shore of Yemen. They were right down in here in the Red Sea. Now, there's only one entrance to the Red Sea. If we back off here, you can see up here, it dead ends up in around Cairo. And it's a long, narrow body of water, the Red Sea. Let's focus in down. So this is the way out right here. The way out goes right past Yemen territory, right in this narrow part, right in here. And see, that's the problem is, this narrow part right in here, and this is all Yemen, right here. And you know the Houthis come from Yemen, and they can get right out on this point of land right here, right out on that tip of point of land. It's not very far across the strait right here, so the ships can have to come through here, and they can fire on them. But I don't think they have very good guidance systems. And you know, the, 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 uh, the, uh, the, 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 men that were on board that ship. You know, they were probably laughing their heads off because the Houthis were probably firing at them, and they could see the missile coming, but there's not a chance in hell it was going to hit them. And they did that for, I guess, for 5 hours, you know. They would have to get a lucky shot, you know. And so for the men on the ships, it's probably like watching fireworks, you know. And they're probably about as accurate as fireworks. You know, when you, 4th of July, and they take that big bottle rocket and they take it into the yard and slide it into the tube and they light it and then they run, you know, and it goes shoo off into the sky and bang, way up in the sky. Well, you know that thing's not very accurate. And I think that the Houthi missiles are sort of like that, you know, but they're bigger. Yeah, definitely they're bigger, and they could do damage to the ship if they can hit the ship. That's the big thing, see? Right? But don't get too close to them, because the closer you get to them, the bigger their chance for accuracy. You know, so if you get really close to this shore here, right, on this eastern bank of the Red Sea here, you know, where the mouth of the Red Sea, if you get really close right in here, you know, say you're right in tight, right in, you're going right through this little hole right here or whatever, you're within 5 miles of, then they can maybe get a better shot at you because you're a bigger target the closer you get, you know. But all in all, all of these attacks that were happening, they're by the Houthis, you know. And the Houthis is not like getting attacked by Iran itself, because Iran has missiles that they ain't going to miss. In fact, they're hypersonic and everything. They got some of the best missiles on Earth, Iran has. And if Iran fired a missile at you, you're in trouble. You know, if you're on the decks of a ship and they were to fire one of their expensive Iranian missiles from short distance, totally different story, you know. But this is not Iran. This is Yemen, and these are the Houthis. But the Houthis are really, they're hot on. They are marching. Look, they're marching cross country all the way here, heading toward Israel. They're marching over these hills and mountains and everything else, heading toward Israel. They're hot on. They are like, they mean business. So, I mean, on the deck of the ship, when they're firing those missiles way out into the ocean and stuff, they might be snickering or whatever. They can't hit the broadside of the barn, you know. But the intent is there. They want you dead. And that's why they're firing those missiles. They have a lot of intent. And if they can get a lucky shot, you know, and every once in a while, I mean, you can be the poorest aim in the world, but every once in a while you can hit the target if you know, boy, gosh, that would create some incident if that happened. Ugh. Anyway, moving on. That's not the story I was looking for. Oh yeah, here's the story right here. Beijing is accusing the United States Navy of illegally entering the South China Sea territory. Now this is very serious. China's a big power. And it says China has claimed that the United States naval ship has illegally intruded in the South China Sea territorial waters. A Chinese naval force was mobilized to track the USS Gabriel Giffords when it ventured near their waters of the second Thomas Shoal, Beijing said. This is part of the Spratly Islands area. China is building up a tremendous naval presence in this region. They want the South China Sea, and they also want Taiwan. Look at what's going on. Let's take a closer examination of what's going on. Do you really believe, honestly, that when it comes to nuclear, that the West, NATO countries, would launch a first strike? I think that would be more or less a last resort sort of a deal. They've crossed Russia's red lines over and over and over again. Russia hasn't launched a nuclear strike. So what's the big deal here? Well, it's conventional warfare's the big deal, just like it was in World War II. And if they're going to hold their nuclear weapons, if NATO's going to hold their nuclear weapons back, Russia's going to hold their nuclear weapons back unless it's an absolute last resort, then war's already going in Eastern Europe. It's already in Ukraine. There's nothing saying that won't spread and NATO involvement get in there, right? And then at that point, then you got a conventional war in Eastern Europe between NATO and Russia. Will it turn nuclear? Maybe not. How many troops can the United States muster? A big question mark. How much ammo has the United States got? Because Russia's turning into an ammo-making machine, and Russia's turning into a troop-making machine right now. They're increasing their defense budget exponentially. The Russians are. And they don't mean to back down. Who's in their crosshairs? All the countries in Eastern Europe that used to be part of the former Soviet Union. And what can we do to stop them? Well, it all depends on how many troops we can muster and how much conventional ammunition we have. What sort of, how are we looking in those two categories? You got to think about things like that. And then at that point, think about something else. Say all of that happens. Say Eastern Europe flares up to a World War III with Russia and the United States fighting in conventional terms, chewing up all the West ammo. And I'm talking that would... Now, this is just speculation now. I'm doing speculation. But that would chew up all of our ammo and all of our military. We would lose a lot of personnel in a war like that. And it would weaken us tremendously. Because there's such a thing as having a heart to fight. But at that point, you'd have to have a heart to fight because it would be the war. Okay, if you don't fight, the enemy's going to have victory. So, at that point in time, let's carry this thing out just a little bit further. Say it gets to the point where NATO has gotten a war with Russia in Eastern Europe, and they've lost tremendous, just like Ukraine right now has lost a tremendous amount of troops and munitions and everything else. And they get down, and also, at the same time, they've been fighting a war in the Middle East on two fronts. Two massive fronts, and all conventional. Now, China would be able to sit over there and say, hey, you know what? How are you going to protect Taiwan now? Like, I'm talking not now. Now we've got our force at the ready, but I'm talking about after we've expended everything and we've been put into a weakened position by a ginormous war in the Middle East and a ginormous war in Eastern Europe. Let's just move to that point in time. And we've used up all of our ammo and men. Then China would say, hey, how are they going to defend Taiwan now? At that point, see? How are they going to defend the South China Sea now? You know? And this is a big danger in all this that a lot of people aren't seeing. Because, yes, this thing might stay conventional for a long period of time, but it's going to come down to an end game in the end, just like the financial system's heading toward an end game. What's the end game? Well, when the ammo runs out, when the men run out. Then how do you fight conventionally then? But you still got your nuclear arsenal. There's your end game scenario. Well, how do you get out of this war? How do you end this war? Before you get to that point, that's what we should be interested in. Because when you get down to the final end stages where one side or the other's out of ammo and men, they can't fight conventionally any longer. Then there's unconventional, which would be strategic nuclear weapons. That's very, very, very dangerous at that point, you know. But we're not there yet, I don't think, you know. And so, I mean, I was worried, very concerned, because we were in uncharted territory. It didn't have anything to. I was worried that it could trigger a nuclear war, like in the earlier stages of the conflict in Ukraine and stuff, that it could. And a lot of people were worried that they would use nuclear weapons. And that was an unknown quantity at that time. Now we can sit back from a future spot in the future, because now is the future. That was a few years ago, a couple years ago. Now we can sit back to the future and we can look back and we can say, hey, you know what? They did cross a lot of red lines for Russia. They bombed Moscow, for crying out loud. Multiple times. They've sabotaged inside Russia. No nukes were used. This tells you a lot. This tells you that the countries aren't so quick to push that red button because they know it'll destroy the world. But at the same time, you know, they're going to fight conventionally until they get this hashed out. There's a huge problem that these wars are trying to hash out. And that's the problem between East and West. They've divided now. They've picked sides. Everybody in the world, mostly everybody, has picked sides. Are they going over there with the BRICS, or are they going to join NATO? So the divisions have been created. It's just like a schoolyard, you know. You got one group of bullies over on this side of the schoolyard. You got one group of bullies over on that side of the schoolyard. And this group of bullies over here decides to all wear red shirts, and that group over there decides to all wear blue shirts. Well, you're getting ready for a schoolyard war. You know, I mean, they're going to have a rumble. Ready to rumble. This is the same thing going on here. Except it's much bigger stakes. The world is the stakes in this thing. Now, silver's went down today. It's down 98 cents right now at 24.44. I don't know how they got the price to drop that much so quick. But I imagine it's probably the paper market that's doing it. I can just imagine, because that's how they've done this silver manipulation. Somebody probably made a heck of a lot of money. What they call money. It's not money. It's just a bunch of paper, a bunch of digits on a computer. We're coming down to the end game on that too, and that's going to be showing that that's what money is, what they call money is. What real money is, real money all the way through history, and it still is precious metals. That's really real money. So you got fake money and you got real money. And the fake money, they're out to get it as fast as they can. I mean, what good's it going to do them if the earth is pounded to rubble? So they got $1 billion. They can dance around in the street. But they look around them and the whole world's rubble. Where are they going to spend it? What good's their fake money if you can't spend it? Look at Bitcoin go up. 41,409. Boy, she took a bounce, I'll tell you, to the upside. That's a big bounce. 22.17 for Ethereum. And XRP at 61.9 cents. So Bitcoin's doing really good. It's in a bull right now. It's bulling upwards. Nothing can bull like Bitcoin. There's nothing ever been invented out there that can do a bull market better than Bitcoin. You know, and I mean, this bull market, I mean, the sky's the limit. You don't know how high this thing's going to go. I don't know. Nobody knows. I mean, last time it topped at around 68,000. The time before that, it topped at 20,000. But you got to remember where it started from. I think it started at around $200 and went up to 20,000. Then it fell back down to like 3,800 or something, 3,500. And then it made its way all the way up to 68,000 the next time. Do we see a pattern here? Because it's done this 7 or 8 times. And each time it tops out exceedingly higher than the last time. So going back the last 2 times, last two times ago was 20,000 it peaked. Then the very last time it peaked at 68,000, 3 times over, almost 4 times higher. So this time the 68,000, will it do 3 times higher, 4 times higher? I mean, you could be talking at $250,000 Bitcoin. If it does, if it repeats the pattern that it's done ever since 2010 or 2009. No, when was it invented? Remember right? I think it was 2009, wasn't it? Oh, yes, I can't remember the correct day. I think it was 2009. But at any rate, now it's 2023. Bitcoin. They all said this thing would be gone by now, worth nothing. Years ago, I remember they kept telling us that. It would be worth nothing. It's nothing. It's going to be gone. It's nothing, nothing, nothing. I heard that so many times, and here it is. It's still there, and it's worth $41,000 a coin. Amazing. Testament to the resilience of this thing. And if it doesn't go away, in the end, it will win. If it doesn't go away and die. It's all or nothing with Bitcoin. And if it fulfills its final mandate, then each coin will be worth an amazing amount of money. So you don't need a whole lot of it. It's not like you think, most people think, oh, I need at least 1 coin. No, you don't need that much. You just need a fraction of a coin. If it completes what it's going to do. But if it doesn't do what it's going to do, it's going to be worthless. So it's all or nothing. It's either going to complete its mission, or it's going to die and disappear. And so think of that if you decide to invest in Bitcoin. Keep that in the back of your mind, that you could lose everything and have it all gone. How much of that do you want to invest in? Or you could gain everything, but you don't need a whole lot of it. You just need to hang on and hold on to what you have for a long period of time until finally it makes it what it's going to do. So HODL, in other words. So, I think myself, hey, something like that, it reminds me of like holding a lottery ticket in your pocket. What happens to that lottery ticket you're holding in your pocket, in your wallet? You're waiting until the numbers come. It's either going to be worth nothing and you can tear it up and throw it in the garbage because you lost, or it's going to make you rich. There's no middle ground. This is the way with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the same darn thing. It's like buying a lottery ticket. Think of it that way. And so, a lot of people out there, if you want to do something, because you never win the blinking lottery. You're just as big a chances of getting struck by lightning and killed, or being bitten by a snake and killed, as winning the lottery. But Bitcoin, it's like a 50-50 bet. It's either going to make it big or it's going to die. And so it's better than a lottery ticket in my mind. I see a lot of people standing in line in a grocery store, or in a convenience store, in front of you, and they're buying lottery tickets. It takes like an hour. Just take that money and put it away into Bitcoin and just sit on it. And it's like a 50-50 bet. Like, either going to win or lose. And I wouldn't put a whole lot of money into it because of that. Just like I wouldn't put a whole lot of money into buying lottery tickets. That's just my philosophy on Bitcoin. Okay? Crude oil today. It's 74.40 today. Oh, we did the Dow. It's down 153 points at 36,092. But still, it's up because it was in the 35,000s. Now it's in the 36,000s. So it's near its all-time high. Looking on the chart here, you can see how close it is to its all-time high right here. It's right up there. Crude oil's 74.40 today. Bonds and rates, we're seeing climbing yields today. The U.S. 10 years at 4.2, it's up 6.4 basis points. And the U.S. 30 years at 4.45, it's up 3.4 basis points. And the dollar index going up, and that explains why gold and silver are going down. What I'll tell you guys, honestly, to invest in the dollar is unlike Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I'm like 50-50. Okay, it could go way up and become enormously. But to invest in the dollar, I only see one direction looking at this thing. 100%. It's going to go inflate to the downside. It's going to inflate and be worth less money. It's going to go through a process of inflation. Now, it's just all about the speed. How long is that going to take at this point? So it's a very poor investment to invest in just dollars. So you're collecting the dollars and just collect what you need. Don't put too many away. Like, don't go packing away enormous amounts of money and putting it in a safe someplace, like in bills and stuff. Because here's the thing. Let's just follow this argument for just a minute, because I'm toward the end of my show. The show's getting rather long, but let's just say it does happen that way. That for some reason the Fed decides, hey, you know what? We're having problems in the financial system. Banks are going down, blah, blah, blah. The market's falling in free fall and everything, and we're just not going to do nothing. We're just going to let it all cascade to the ground. That's the scenario where there's deflation. And that's why people are hoarding dollars. Because they think they're going to buy everything up on the cheap with these dollars. Let's use logic for a minute here about this. What's the chance of that actually happening? Is very slim, but it's not zero. The chance is not zero. I would say it's less than 10% chance that'll happen. The Fed won't do nothing. The whole stand back and watch the whole thing go into a deflation like the Great Depression. I'd say there's a very small chance, but there is a chance that could happen. Well, let's just follow that for a minute. What would happen from that, the extenuating circumstances? Well, it's got far more energy than it had during the Great Depression to go to the downside. The markets would fall off by more than 90%. Ultimately, the system would freeze up, and the problem with that money you got is you wouldn't be able to spend it because the system would stop functioning. Then the dollars would be worth zero because chaos would rule. You can't spend money unless you got a constructive, functioning system to spend the money in. You can't spend money in a store if the store is locked up and the chains are around the door. How are you going to spend your money in that store? If the whole system's shut down, how are you going to spend your money? You can't spend your money. It's worthless. But the world, if in a situation like that, the world would still need to do commerce. And you know what they would do? They would resort right back to their fundamentals and using precious metals to do commerce. So either way, if it goes hyperinflation, you know what your precious metals are going to be worth? If it all deflates, your precious metals will still be the thing. Either way it goes. If the system turns off, still they'll go to precious metals. They're not going to go for barter because they have no fungibility. You can't trade a cow for a chicken. They're not worth the same. You've got to have a means of commerce that's got fungibility, meaning that it has equal trade value. Gold and silver, perfectly fungible by weight. Doesn't even have to be by coin or nationality. Doesn't matter what kind of silver you got. If you got pure silver, an ounce is worth an ounce of any other pure silver. That's fungibility. Same thing with gold. You know, these currencies out there are only fungible in the country of origin. These in other words, you can't take and say, okay, I'm going to trade Canadian dollars for American dollars. They're not fungible. American dollars are only fungible with other American dollars. But that's what's mainly used in trade now is American dollars, and they are fungible, provided you're trading American dollars for American. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Time to go. Thank you guys for listening to my show. It means a lot to me in these trying times. Appreciate my audience. You guys have a great afternoon, and bye-bye.